Okay, boys, I want to hopefully get through this. I'm just going to wing it a little bit, but there's a lot to get through, and I'm going to try to do it in less than 30 minutes. So if you want to hurry up, you can just fast forward to any part. But what we're really doing right now is we're just going to prove if ratios are equivalent or not. So right now I'm on page 59 from the book, page 59. So if you have your book, open up to page 59 and follow me, okay? So it starts off and it says, Amani spent 2 dirham, okay, to make 10 prints from a photo booth, okay? Later she spent 6 dirhams to make 30 prints, okay? And that information right here is seen in the table. So 2 dirham, 10 prints, 6 dirham, 30 prints, okay? So next part. Express the relationship between the number of prints she made and the total cost for each situation as a rates in fraction form. Okay, so what it's saying is write this out as a rate. So if she made 10 prints for 2 dirham, and then also 30 prints for 6 dirhams. Later she made 30 prints for 6 dirham. Okay? And now they're in those forms. Oh, well, look at that. They even gave us the thing to do that on. So I'm going to erase this. Let's try that. Let's write it right here. You guys have a place to write it. So we have 10 prints for 2 dirham and 30 prints for 6 dirham. Okay. Compare the relationship between the numerators of each rate in exercise 1. Compare the relationship between the denominators of these rates. Okay. A numerator is talking about the number on the top. That's a numerator. This is a denominator. Denominator. Okay, so it says compare the relationship between the numerators. Okay, so how is 10 related to 30? 10 times 3 is 30. 30 is 3 times bigger than 10. Okay, so multiply by 3. And then it says compare the relationship between the denominators of these rates. Okay, well, what's interesting is 6 is 3 times bigger than 2. Okay, so 2 times 3 is 6. So what we could write is maybe 10 times 3 is 30, and 2 times 3 is 6. And that's the relationship. So 10 times 3 is 30, 2 times 3 is 6. So that relationship is actually the same, which is no surprise as we go down and we'll see, okay? What is the unit rate for 10 prints? So remember, unit rate is when you take this right here and you convert it into a single unit. So instead of having 10 over 2, we want it to be over 1. That's what a unit rate is. So what can I divide both 10 and 2 by to have a 1 on the bottom? So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 divided by 2 is 1. There's my unit rate. What is the unit rate for 30 prints? Okay. 30 divided by 6, so let's go ahead and convert that one. 30 divided by 6. Okay. I want to divide by 6, divide by 6, 30 divided by 6. So notice I'm always just dividing, by the way, by whatever's on the bottom. So I divide by 2 to turn it into a unit rate because 2 was on the bottom. I divide by 6 to turn it into a unit rate because 6 was on the bottom. 30 divided by 6 is going to be 5. 6 divided by 6 is going to be 1. So the unit rates are the same. So the last question is, are the rates in exercise 1 equivalent? And I would say yes, the rates are equivalent because their unit rates are the same. Okay, so yes, these rates are equivalent because the unit rates are the same, right? In both cases, they're still printing 5 photos for 1 dirham. Okay, all right. So let me see how this video is doing. Okay, so it looks good so far. I'm going to keep going. All right, let's start working through the book some. All right, now we're on the next page. So what page is that? Page 60. Page 60. Okay, determine if each pair of rates is equivalent. All right, so if I want to find out if 20 miles in 5 hours, if I want to find out if 20 miles in 5 hours is equal to 45 miles in 9 hours, whoops, 45, in 9 hours, okay, 45 miles in 9 hours, then I can write them like this and see if their unit rates are the same. So let's look down. Notice on this one, they divided 20 miles in 5 hours, 4 miles in 1 hour. They divide by 5 because 5 is on the bottom. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So here is the unit rate here. Okay? On this one, 9's on the bottom, so they're going to divide by 9 to turn it into a unit rate. 45 divided by 9 is 5. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So are these unit rates the same? No. So right here, you can see it says, since the rates do not have the same unit rate, since they're not the same unit rate, they are not equivalent. So going on to the next one. 3 t-shirts for 21 dirhams and 5 t-shirts for 35 dirhams. Are those equivalent rates? So let's find out. Let me pull this a little bit down. Okay, turn it into a unit rate first. So there's a 3 on the bottom here. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both top and bottoms. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So there's my unit rate. There's a 5 on the bottom here in the denominator. So I'm going to divide by 5 on both top and bottom. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 5 divided by 5 is 1. There's the unit rate. So in both cases, I have 7 dirhams for 1 t-shirt. 7 dirhams for 1 t-shirt. So the question was, determine if each pair of rates is equivalent. These are equivalent because it's the same rate. All right. So since the rates have the same unit rate, they are equivalent. Okay, so those are equivalent. These are not equivalent because the rate's not the same. Okay, so now the question is, do you really get it? And that's where this part comes in. Okay, so do you got it? So go to the bottom, pause this video, go to the bottom and try these on your own. Press play when you want to see the answers because I'm about to give you the answers. Okay, so part A. Let's do part A first. Oops. Is that writing? There we go. Part A. So part A, I've got 36 t-shirts in 3 boxes. Now, is that equivalent? Is it equivalent to 60 t-shirts in 6 boxes? So remember, I need to convert these to unit rates. So let me try. 60 and 6. Okay. So to convert to a unit rate, you see the denominator? It's a 3. So I want to divide by 3 on the top, and I want to divide by 3 on the bottom, and that's going to equal 36 divided by 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36. So that's going to be 12. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Okay? Now let's look at the next one. There's a 6 in the denominator, so I want to divide on the top by a 6, and on the bottom by a 6. Okay? And this is to turn it into a unit rate. So 60 divided by 6 is 10. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So are these the same unit rates? No. No. So these 36 in 3 boxes and 60 in 6 boxes are not equivalent, okay, because it's not the same. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So A, not equivalent. Next one. B says 42 flowers in 7 vases. And that's going to be compared with 54 flowers out of 9 vases. Okay? So 7's on the bottom. So to convert it to a unit rate, I'm going to divide by 7. 42 divided by 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. So that's going to be 6. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So there's my unit rate up top. 9 is on the bottom here, so I'm going to divide by 9. Divide by 9. So I'm going to convert it into a unit rate. 54 divided by 9. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Now look at these rates. Look at these rates. Those unit rates are the same. So these two rates right here are equivalent rates, okay, because their unit rates are the same. All right, next page. I think I might skip this part right here, and let's just do the last two together. But this is showing you the same example. If you're confused, look at here. They set the two rates up, okay? Here's a rate. Because 3 is on the bottom, they end up dividing by 3. Divide by 3. Because 6 is on the bottom here, they divide by 6. Divide by 6. Here's the unit rate. 15 over 1, 20 over 1. Are they the same? No, they're not the same. So they're not equivalent. Or, here it is, they are not equivalent. Because they're not the same. Alright, last two. Let me do one of these last two. You can pause the video right now. I'm going to do let's just do letter C. So, letter C. For the sake of time, I'm going to do the easier one. Alright, Layla made 10 bracelets for 5 friends. So her rate was 10 bracelets per 5 friends. Jana made 12 bracelets. 12 bracelets per 4 friends. 12 bracelets per 4 friends. Are these equal? That's the question. Okay? Are these rates equivalent? So we need to convert it into a unit rate. So, see how there's a 5 on the bottom in the denominator? So that means I'm going to divide by 5. Okay. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. There's my unit rate. Done with the top, the bottom. There's a 4 on the bottom, so I'm going to divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 4 divided by 4 is 1. There's my unit rate. Now, are these the same? Are they the same? No, they're not the same. So, because they're not the same, they are not not equivalent. All right? So that's how to find out if two ratios are equivalent using unit rates. There's another way of doing it now, okay? And that's what the next page is going to show you. And I think it's the next page. I don't know why I'm erasing that. I don't have much time. So now we're looking at the bottom of page 61. So it's already been 15 minutes. So let's see if we can get through this. The bottom of page 61. So we're at page 61. Okay. So the other way of seeing if two ratios or rates are equivalent is to write them next to each other. Okay. So like 3 free throws made out of 7 attempts. So you can see 3 free throws, 7 attempts. And then the other rate is 9 free throws out of 14. So 9 out of 14. Now think about how your denominators relate to each other and your numerators relate to each other. So you see how this one has 3 free throws and that one has 9 free throws? Well, to do that, you have to multiply by 3. 3 times 3 is 9, okay? Now, 7 and 14, to get to 14, it ends up being times 2. So the question is, when you multiply the numerator by 3 and you multiply the denominator by 2, because you're not multiplying by the same thing, that means they're not equivalent. If you were multiplying by the same thing, they would be equivalent. So read this right here. The numerator and the denominator are not multiplied by the same number. So here's the key. Not multiplied by the same number, so the fractions are not equivalent. Because it's not the same number. Those have to be the same number. Okay? I'm sure we're going to see an example in just a second, so hang tight. Okay, so here's an example where it says Sabrine is comparing, so we're on the next page now, page, 62? Yeah, we're on page 62. Okay, Sabrine is comparing the cost of 2 packages of DVDs. A package of 6 DVDs costs 90 AED. So you can see, I know this is probably blurry for you. Let me see what it looks like on the... It's not that bad, but it's probably a little bit blurry for you. So look at your book. You have 6 DVDs, and it costs 90 dirhams. So that's one fraction. Next fraction. 3 DVDs cost 45 dirhams. 3 DVDs, 45 dirhams. So how do you get from 6 to 3? You divide by 2. How do you get from 90 to 45? You divide by 2. Now you see how these are the same. Divide by 2, divide by 2. Because they're the same, it says the numerator and denominator are divided by the same number. So if they're multiplied by the same number or divided by the same number, so the fractions are equivalent. So this is an example of equivalent fractions. And you're going to have to use this when we actually start working some problems out down here. Okay, so let's just skip this, and I'll start working through these problems with you so you can at least get your homework done. All right. So determine if each pair of ratios is equivalent. Okay, so we have 24 dirhams saved after 3 weeks. So 24 dirhams in 3 weeks. Now, is that equivalent or is it equal to 52 in 7 weeks? Are those equal? That's the question. So on this one, I think I can convert it into a unit rate. So 24 divided by 3 is, or here's what I'm doing. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and that's going to be 24 divided by 3 is 8 over 1. That's my unit rate. This one. Divide by, well, we're doing it anyway. 7, divide by 7. Okay, here's the thing. This one is not the same. It's not even easy to divide it. If you need a calculator on this, go ahead and use a calculator. This is actually going to be like 7, I'm just going to guess, about 7.5 5. And then 7 divided by 7 is 1. So that's my unit rate. Question, are these the same? They're not the same, so not equivalent. So that can be your answer. You can write not equivalent. Not, I'm just going to put an equal sign. That doesn't look like an equal sign. Not equal. Okay, 270 calories in 3 servings, 450 calories in 5 servings. So 270 in 3. Or 450 in 5. I'm just going to start working fast. But I think I can convert this to a unit rate, so I'm going to do that. Divide by 3, divide by 3. That equals 270 divided by 3 is 90. Over 3 divided by 3 is 1. Again, you might want to use a calculator on that. All right, divide by 5, divide by 5. 450 divided by 5 is 90. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Now, that's the same. Those are the same, which means yes. Yes. The ratios, you could say ratios are equal, or you could write out the whole word, equivalent. All right, next. It says Marwan can do 75 push-ups in 3 minutes. Okay, so that's a rate. 75 push-ups in 3 minutes. Ehab can do 130 push-ups in 5 minutes. 130 push-ups in 5 minutes. Are these the same rates? So let's try to take this one. I'm going to divide by 3 and divide by 3. So 75 divided by 3 is going to be 25 over 1. I'm going to take this one, divide by 5, divide by 5. So 130 divided by 5 is 26. Is that right? 26. Yes, it is right. Yep. Okay, 26 over 1. So 25 over 1, 26 over 1. They're very, very close, but they're not the same. So I'd say not, whoops. I'd say not it's not the same rate. Okay, just write not the same rate, not same rate. Okay, a human adult takes about 16 breaths in 60 seconds. A puppy takes about 8 breaths in 15 seconds. Okay, I see how I'm going to solve this one. Watch this. 16 and 60. 8 and 15. You know what? I'm going to even flip it around just to make it a little bit easier for you. Let's do it like this. 8 and 15. 16 and 60. Now, I like this one because this is the first one that I'm not going to make a unit rate. So you see how I made unit rates. All these I made unit rates on. This one I'm not going to because I think it's easier to say it this way. 8 times what is 16? That's times 2. 15 times what is 60? This is times 4. Okay? So is times 2 and times 4 the same thing? No. So that is not, because it's not the same, I'm going to say it's not equivalent. All right. I'm going to go on to the next page, and how can you determine if 2 ratios are equivalent? Maybe I'll go ahead and answer this. 2 ways. Compare the unit rate Or, just like we did here a second ago, or, second way, how do I explain this? Do you multiply by the same number? So if you have, or if you have two fractions, I'm going to just write it instead. Two fractions, or do you multiply by same number in denominator and numerator. I know that looks terrible, guys, but I think you understand the point, and if you don't, rewind the video and watch what I did on this one. That's what I'm explaining right here, okay? What I just did there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Last page, hopefully. Yep, and I've got 4 minutes to do it. So determine if each pair of ratios is equivalent. 3 AED for 6 bagels compared to 9 AED for 24 bagels. Okay, how does 3 get to 9? What do I have to multiply by? I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Look. Times 3. 6, how does that get to 24? Times 4. Are times 3 and times 4 the same? No. Not equal, because this is not the same as that. They have to be the same. Okay? Let's go to the next one. All right. 12 AED for 3 paperback books. So I paid 12 dirhams for 3 books. That looks terrible. Let's rewrite that. 12 for 3 books. 28 for 7 books. All right, when I look at this one, I don't know how many times 3 multiplies to get 7, and I don't know how many times 12 multiplies to be 8. If I had a calculator, I could figure it out. But what I do see is converting to a unit rate. On this one, I would use the unit rate. So, to do that, see what's in the bottom? It's a 3. The bottom over here is a 7. Okay, so 12 divided by 3 is 4. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So there's the unit rate. 28 divided by 7 is 4. 7 divided by 7 is 1. There's the unit rate. You see how they're the same. 4 over 1. 4 over 1. That's the same. That means yes. Yes, the ratios are equal. And I would rather you guys write, yes, the ratios are equal. I have a hard time writing on this board. Okay, 3 hours worked for 12 dirhams. 3 hours, 12 dirhams. This one, they made 36 dirhams, but they worked 9 hours. Okay, so 9 hours, 36 dirhams. So this one, I did a unit rate on. This one, I'm going to actually compare. I'll write this out. I'm going to compare numerator and denominator. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when I look here, I know 3 times what is 9? 3 times 3 is 9. 12 times what is 36? 12 times 3 is 36. You see how these are the same? That means it's going to be yes. Yes. Those two ratios are equivalent because those are the same. All right. 12 minutes to drive 30 laps. 12 minutes to drive 30 laps. 48 minutes to drive 120 laps. Again, I'm not gonna do a unit rate on that. That's too tough. But if I'm good with numbers, I can see how 12 times 4 is 48, and 30 times 4 is 120. So you see how they're both times 4? They're both the same, so yes, those are equivalent. All right. And hopefully we're getting to the last bit of this. Let's see. Yes, good. Last bit. I'm going to do just this last, I'm going to do this last one problem. I'll leave number 6 and 7 for you guys. But let's see if we can do this last one at least. Reem is comparing the cost of 2 packages of socks. One package has 8 pairs of socks for 12. So he's buying socks. One, you can get 8 socks for 12 dirham. The other one, that came from here. The other one has 3 pairs of socks, 3 socks for 6 dirham. Are these the same? Well, let's see here. I can already tell you no. We can do this in many ways. You can try to convert it to a unit rate, which is not easy. But I'm going to show you how to figure it out multiplying wise. 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, that works on the bottom. 3 is 3 times 2, 8? No. So you know they're not equivalent, because it would have to also be times 2. This, if you type it into a calculator, is actually 3 times 2.666, and the 6 keeps going. Okay? So they're not the same. These are not the same. So those are not equivalent. I'd say not equivalent. Okay, so just to review, guys, there's 2 ways to find out if ratios or fractions are equivalent. You can see if they multiply, the numerators and the denominators multiply the same to get to the other fraction. And if they do, then that's equivalent. Or you can see if you can convert them into a unit rate. Remember where there's some number on the top, like a 3 over 1, and then convert the other one into a unit rate. If the unit rates are the same, then that is an equivalent ratio. So there's 2 ways. All right? Hopefully this was helpful. If not, well, guaranteed it was helpful. We'll learn more in class about it if you don't get it. Just ask me.